Today, on this Salidan Life, we're going to talk about middle school. No one ever really talks about middle school, the good or the bad, probably because most people have selective memory in order to block out the worst 3 years of their lives. Middle school was a place where your parents stashed you away during your awkwardest phases. It was a confusing, miserable time, and for most people, middle school is where their worst memories were made. One of my worst memories from middle school would be the time that this guy had one of my friends ask me out because he was too scared to do it himself. I ended up saying yes even though I'd never talked to this kid in my life. I would always pass him in the hallways and pretend I didn't see him. I even had a class with him, and we never even looked at each other. He would ask my friends to ask me if I wanted to go to the mall or go ice skating or hang out with him, and I would always make an excuse not to. I think we ended up dating for maybe about a month, and in that time we probably had about 2 actual conversations. The whole situation was extremely awkward, and it is definitely one of my top 10 most embarrassing memories from middle school.
My name is Deanna Klein. I'm from Sugar Land, Texas, and my worst middle experience is probably going to be the time that me and my boyfriend at the time decided to play a prank on one of our friends who was a little bit younger than us. He broke into his older brother's condom stash, and we filled it with glue and kind of just put it in, tried sticking it in her locker. I guess it didn't go in all the way, and it kind of fell on the ground. And then some people older than us, were roaming the hallways and being the cool kids, and came across the condom and then us, and they kind of started spreading rumors about everything. They were doing this, we caught them doing this, when we were just kind of running around being stupid, skipping class, just being young 12-year-olds, I don't know. Then it got back to the principals what we did. 1, that we skipped class. 2, that we were doing inappropriate things in school. Then we got suspended for it because I guess we broke school rules from playing a prank on one of our friends. So it traveled up through high school with us. It's still stuck with us to this day. Everyone brings it up every now and then. Do you remember that time that you and this guy were doing this in school? And I'm like, y'all are complete mental people, because this never happened, and we're still to this day trying to clear our name of something that we did 7 years ago. So that's probably gonna have to be my worst middle school experience. I was kind of mean the last few years of middle school because of this experience. But yeah, I guess that's my worst middle school experience.
Okay, my name is Marian Hushka, and I'm going to tell you about my worst middle school experience. My worst middle school experience is when I was in weightlifting class or health class with Mr. Marcus, and I bent down to pick up a bar, and my pants ripped up the butt. The rest of the day I had to wear these ugly pants from the nurse's office that didn't match my outfit at all, and that were 4 sizes too big for me, and I just looked really stupid and was super embarrassed. And there was a whole bunch of boys in my class, which made it even more embarrassing. And the pants were really ugly. They had to try to pull them up to my boobs. and then those ones started ripping at the bottom. So then I had to walk on the bottoms of these ripped pants, and I didn't want to give them back to the nurse all ripped, so I had to keep them. And then I gave them away to caring and sharing. The end.
My name is Kinsey Bartley. I went to Quail Valley Middle School GT Academy, and basically the way the school was set up is that there was a really badly structured middle school, and they put an academy into it, which was basically a smart kid school, to get its rankings up. So I auditioned and got put into the smart kid school, And we basically had to live in fear of the other half of the school, which we called the ghetto kids. So my worst middle school experience was one day, well, most days in the lunch lines, a bunch of the nerdy kids would always run to be the first ones in the line, and the ghetto kids didn't like that, and they thought it was, like, lame. So they would always cut the nerdy kids in line, and we'd always get really upset. And so we would go and tell the two different schools had, this is pathetic, the two different schools had two different principals. And so we would always go and tell our principal about how scared we were of the ghetto kids. And this is so embarrassing. And then the GT Academy principal would go and tell the regular school principal. And they would always get yelled at or get put on structured lunch, which is where they'd have to sit quietly. And then us being nerds, we would never cause any problems. So we got to have regular lunch, which angered the ghetto kids even more. And so they would be even more mean to us in the lunch lines. And so I guess one day the two principals got fed up with dealing with both sides of the school having these issues in the lunch lines. So when we all have structured lunch, we all start out at lunch all sitting down at the tables instead of just going straight to the lunch lines. So they sat us all down and made us completely quiet and said that they had a few announcements to make, all the while holding up all of our ketchup and mustard packets from the lunch line. They had made the decision that since we couldn't get along as a school, that the way to make us get along would be to take away all the condiments. So this went on for about a month until we decided that it would be best for all of us to just get along in order to get our condiments back, because we were tired of eating really gross French fries and chicken fingers. And so we, I guess, kind of all got together and made the decision that if we would stop running and looking like freaks every day, then the ghetto kids would stop being so mean to us. Yeah, probably about a month later, we got all of our condiments back, and nothing really big happened after that between the two schools.